Dune tells the story of House Atreides. When they take control of the planet Arrakis and the profitable spice supply on it, neither the former occupants nor the locals are too happy about it. Denis Villeneuve's Dune is a grand, bold feat. It's an auditory and visual spectacle. In certain regards, it's a masterpiece. But there are some elements that fall short of greatness, resulting in a long, intriguing, mesmerizing, good but flawed film. The simplest way to describe the story of Dune is that it's Game of Thrones in space. There are political elements, warring, rivaling houses and factions, similar plot beats and more. How influential the original novel has become is evident throughout the film. There are moments in the film that are similar to events and elements in the Star Wars franchise and the aforementioned Game of Thrones, to say just a couple. What this means is that while the story and characters are intriguing and well developed, they do venture into familiar territory at times. The Chosen One narrative, for example, has been done many times before this film and since the release of the novel in various science fiction franchises like Avatar, Star Wars, Mass Effect, and more. As such, this depiction of Dune cannot help but feel a little too traditional and predictable in terms of its basic story structure and overarching narrative. Luckily, the amount of depth and the characters surrounding this help make the story stand out amongst the crowd that has formed since the novel's release. One of the best features of this film is that of its all-star cast. Each character is brilliantly portrayed, with their own personalities and well-defined motivations. Oscar Isaac is great as the father figure, guiding and teaching his son while managing his new acquisition and role. Rebecca Ferguson is fantastic as the mother, worried about her son while being torn between her duty as a mother and her loyalty to her heritage. Much of the film hangs on the shoulders of its main character, played by Timothée Chalamet. He is our eyes and ears into this vast universe, its world and characters. We discover so much about the politics, the factions and so on from Timothy's growing intelligence, his lessons and education and exploration into such matters. The way in which the often heavy and detailed information is delivered to us is very well done and smart. It's never overbearing or overwhelming. It never feels like too much, nor does it ever feel forced. The one issue with this character is that he lacks a personality as strong as his castmates. He isn't bad by any means, but he is far more normal and down to earth in comparison to the science fiction set characters around him. Timothy's performance is like everyone else in this film, pretty good. The biggest flaw with Dune is that it's unfinished. The film is based on the first half of the novel, so it doesn't have an ending. At least not an ending that feels entirely worth the 2.5-hour journey leading up to it. The second half of the film is very clearly the middle part of the novel, and as such the middle of a larger story. Proceedings do slow down as the film progresses, with action scenes thrown in on occasion to add some excitement. While these action moments are good, they do result in a film with an uneven pace and momentum. The second half of the film constantly rises and falls in terms of its pacing, constantly stopping and starting until it finally just stops. The film is simply not finished. The story is told in an unconventional way, and while it mostly works, it is tougher to engage in the second half of the film because of its pacing. Had the film been a 5-hour adaptation of the full novel, it may have fared better. One of the true highlights of the film is that of its visuals. Large desert landscapes, beaming sunsets, gorgeous architecture and more fill the screen at every given time. Seeing the film in IMAX allows even more of these visuals to truly shine. The film is gorgeous, the scenery is jaw-dropping, the lighting and the sets are expertly designed and positioned, as are the special effects. In terms of the sets, while they are well constructed and designed, there is a minimalistic style to them too. Many of the locations in the film are of a large scale and scope. They take up a lot of space, with plenty of room for the actors and crew to work in. But this sometimes backfires, with certain locations come across as empty and spread out. Sometimes bigger isn't necessarily better. The score of the film is Hans Zimmer at his best. It features the usual booms and orchestral pieces, along with bagpipes and enchanting vocals. It all works together to create an epic, mystical tone and mood, matching the religious themes and connotations of the story really well. Dune is very entertaining and enjoyable. It's a film that makes you want to watch, both for the story and characters, but also because it's just so beautiful. It's a masterpiece in production and design. However, the way in which it has adapted the novel is somewhat flawed. Overall, it's a good film that requires a sequel to truly feel complete.